Kofu is just an industry in South Africa, is mainly in the Western Cape and in Johannesburg. I mentioned plus minus 50 billion rand industry, which is driven by 2 provinces. Now, to me, sometimes ndiyabhiliva kwinto ukuthi xa nabantu abaninzi bebheka ngapha fanele nibheke ngapha. You understand? Innovation is about taking the route that is less traveled.
Sanmunani dumelanga bsheni, hello, goeiedag, goeiemorgen. Welcome once again to the Panda Mzansi Business Podcast. I am your host, David James Sampson, and I never roll alone. I am always with the one, the only, the top dog, Dachi. But for those who don't know, Dachi, tell them.
What this will say to the viewers out there, I'm the co-host. This Mhlekazi.
For those of you who have been following us for a while, you know it was the Panda Mzansi business segment, but due to the levels, cause you see there's Utachi here, so levels must be incurred. We have grown, and we can only grow thanks to our lovely, amazing partners. As you see, it's just full of this Panda Mzansi movement, with all of the companies that fall under it: Sophistique, Evolve, Smart Diva, Silulo, X-Royal Studios, Eastern Cape Indaba. Am I missing any others? How can I forget Lukolo? We were there with this other weekend. But you have to follow us to see what happened there and the lovely accommodation we were afforded. Like we are now in our usual studio setup. We are at Smart Diva accommodations here in the Quigny. At East London, beachfront property. Beachfront property. And summer is coming, Kaloku, as up vacations are going to be very necessary. And you must be found at the beach, Kaloku. The people must see. Yeah.
No standard.
Just call, click. Come here, man. It's very lovely. Tachi, I must stop doing this thing that I do. My introduction is longer than most of the questions I have. Once again, we are graced by a man who has innovated in the space where one would not find innovation from our people, Tachi. Our people.
But Mhlekazi lona ubethe ezinye izinto ezothusayo.
Uyayiva ke ngo?
Uyayibona lento sisebenzisa nje, but awucingi ukuba abantu bangayenza lento.
Do you know?
I'm looking forward to the interview test.
It's that thing when you pour it in there and you stir it and you don't think about it, but it's the first thing you have in the morning, every morning. It's become a crutch for you throughout the day, but you don't even think where it is sourced, where it comes from, who is it employing, who is it empowering.
Yeah.
But we have a gentleman here who went, I am taking up the entire conversation. Tata, introduce yourself to our lovely audience, and then we'll get right into it, Tachi. Yes.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to Panda Mzansi. Welcome to the viewers. My name is Wiso Mdlalo. I am the founder of a company called Kofu. Kofu is a coffee company. So we brew and roast coffee. Kofu.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit at Kofu. But thanks for being here with us. The Mhlekazi about Wiso.
Yes.
From the upbringing yakhe usuka phi wafunda phi kwathini so nomdla wakho lasiqalele eqaleni until apho udibana khona nekofu uyibambe apho udibana khona nekofu sabe singene sifuna nje uva kodwa i-upbringing yakho.
Nabulela Mr. Khane. Uwiso uzalelwe kwilali yakwaNgwevu eNqekhwebe, an English name called Hilltown. Up Eastern Cape. Kula district yaseMathole eBhofolo. Ndikhule pha ndimatriculate pha. I went to primary school, senior secondary school, Hilltown High School. I'm proud to go officer school because one of the school that has a rich history. Sibala Tatu Mandela went to the same school. Mr. Tatu Robert Sobuko went to the same school. Obao Governing Beki.
School of the Legends.
Yeah. Pressure. And Kulilega Apo, and they matriculated in Hilltown in 2001. Then I went to a Cape Technicon from 2002. I was there Cape Technicon up until 2005. Since I costing diploma there. So I then stayed in Cape Town for more than 20 years. Ndaphangela ke I've been in corporate ke ndaphangela apho ndiphangele khona ndiphangele kwi company esifana no Donaldson, an international company that are doing filters. Ndiphangele in the Silicon Valley of South African Stellenbosch Technopark. That's when I was exposed to small businesses in technology. And then ndawulenda kwa Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages. Yes, the CCLI Coca-Cola. There I spent a lot of time for more than 10 years in that company. Kulapho ke introduce khona kuKofu. The coffee industry ndifunde ngoNdiphaka Peninsula Beverages because Coca-Cola went into the coffee industry, and I was one of the people who was fortunate to say, come, let's learn the business, head up the business, put up the business and launch the business. So kulapho nizofunda khona ke Kofu.
Ndinomdlalo Wiso ufundile kapho wasebenza kwezi companies wangena uCoca-Cola and ufune 10 years oyisebenzileyo phaya eCoca-Cola. So amanqanaba buhamba phaya eCoca-Cola ndinomdla mdla wami uzaba apha ba in 10 years nobukhulile waphezulu. Just uvela uyeke sizawuyaphi ngoba just vela uyeke. So nomdla bamanqanaba umke so uphile luhambe yapha amanqanaba experience yakho.
I think Coca-Cola Mr. Khane ndibiza ba iMBA yampa ndifunde kakhulu because one Coca-Cola is the number 1 brand in the world. And ndiqale ke as the what you call an assistant plant accountant. So ndiqale kwa finance. Prior I was exposed into the running of the business because bense depot where e-trucks deliver corner, where you have interact with the sales, where you interact with the warehouse, where you interact with production, where you interact with merchandising, delivery, customer engagement. From there I became a management accountant, called assistant plan, from assistant plan accountant, no runner planned this at Blackheath. From Danzig within a year after World Cup. Another thing, that company exposed me to the World Cup because 2010 we were hosting World Cup in South Africa. So I was in that pressure point, making sure that we would deliver the product and making sure that as the country will host a successful World Cup with the partners being co-sponsoring the World Cup. So again, prior, that's why I City MBA for the prior. Then ngoku and I by management accountant at Blackheath Depot where I was running the plant as an accounting officer at the plant. From there, within the space of 4 years, I became the group procurement manager. Group procurement manager, I was in charge of the whole business. Group, yes. Coca-Cola, yes. Luna bin Pangalayan, Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages. So we would get into how the business is made, but there's Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages now, and there's Coca-Cola Southern Africa. So Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages, bottler, so it's a bottler system. So it's one of the bottlers is Koyo. So I was the group procurement manager for that bottler that was in charge of the Western Cape and Northern Cape, the territory. So yes, then that's when I was then introduced from a procurement side of the business. I was introduced, as I said, when I started from the sales operation warehousing. I was then introduced from the management side of things, on management accounting, doing the finance side, and then I went to procurement. Now again, you're procuring for the whole group. So there I was exposed in all business units, because then I was procuring for each and every commodity, each and every demand that they were having. Then Coca-Cola was then yes. I was that person. So no. I really clean department. So it exposed me there in terms of engaging with different suppliers. It then sharpened to me, especially the entrepreneur journey, because when you procurement, you deal with suppliers, entrepreneurs. Again, as you said, people who want to bring a service or a product to Coca-Cola. You represent the customer, call it the customer, because we're the end user. So I interacted with a lot with the entrepreneurs. Then came an opportunity in 2019 where the businesses through Coca-Cola Southern Africa, where they were going to be introducing coffee as a separate business. So kunazi products abinazo, for example, we call a Coke coffee, a coffee that was mixed with Coca-Cola. But now they were bringing in a separate business, which was what they call the hot beverages, which is coffee. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was one of the people then who was asked by the group to say, Wiso, run this project for us.
Abayazi namanje
Yes.
lapho uthi ngokukhokhu lo simselayo sofuna ibanda
yes
unecandelo kanye lekofu funeka ngoku usela ikofu eshushu
ukhokhu unecala lakhe on a company bayibiza Barista Brothers and a company called Costa. So those are the two major companies. But before Coco,
I'm very sorry. Just to cut. There's something you said specifically. What unfortunately you were selected. Why unfortunately? Unfortunately,
in a sense that, you know, if you in a corporate, it's an opportunity that anyone would want to, because from the business point, we were moving into a new territory. We all knew how to producing and serving cold drinks, or call it soft drinks. Now we're moving into a new business, which is coffee. So unfortunately, in a sense that, you know, you would know that not everyone's going to be happy that this one, you know. So so again, it became a fortunate thing for me that the trust that the business had, because I had to start the new business from scratch, from running the system, from creating processes, running the operations, you know, landing in the business, launching the business, hiring people within the business. So it was a very huge project that I think that myself, I was shocked that it was given to me, but again, I believe in myself. So I took it and grabbed it with both hands. Yes.
So I
funny Kofu to understand the different segments the Kofu. I understand how does Coke gonna play in the coffee business, and what was coffee strategy in the coffee business, and what were they not doing in the coffee business, and again, what are they gonna because there were two brands. The segment of the market where we're going to launch this particular brand, which is Costa, which was the premium brand, where we're going to launch Barista. So I had to be part of those decision making from a Coca-Cola Peninsula beverage point, because there was another bottler, which is Coca-Cola Southern Africa. So, but again, in both these bottlers, no one, as I said, that had the experience of being in the hot beverage business. So we were always learning. We're always going to the trade, going to the market, learning and finding out who's doing what in the market, how do beans are roasted, who's roasting a bean, you know, where do we fit in. So literally the whole coffee journey from the start to the finish, up until I can say we launched the business.
So basically you already pre-launched Kofu before getting to your own coffee.
Yeah, no, that's the one part of it that we want to get to. Yes, you're right, because sometimes you need knowledge and experience.
Yes.
And to have taken the road. That's why I said to you that at Coke it was my MBA, because I had the resources, which is a huge brand. So whatever trial and error that we're making, it was not as if someone else that I had learned now in my new
not
journey.
Coming out of his own pocket.
Yeah. So again, now that I learned in this journey that I'm on now, you realize that we hang on chalk and cheese.
But this actually brings me to a very pertinent point, because if you look at the hot beverage market, there are very few players that own the monopoly when it comes to coffee brands. Speaking from us from Lapemont, Seattle Coffee is the guys. Whenever someone talks about coffee, beverages, things of that nature, it's either you are going to Seattle or you're going to McCafe. Those two are the only options. And then when you get to your more metropolitan areas like your Cape Town and etc., that's where you talk about Starbucks and things of that nature. And those are players that occupy. Hey, Tachi, when I say monopoly, I mean like when they want coffee, it's those people. So then what made you think like, hey, okay, me, small producer from the Eastern Cape with no backing, I can go and I can carve out a little place for myself here. Yeah.
Look, that's the market segments and analysis that I was busy with, unfortunately, at Coca-Cola. So, Kofu, it's a closer word for coffee. So when I then decided to leave Coca-Cola, so I left Coca-Cola in 2019.
Yeah. So ndinomdla apho ke before ungene ku Kofu yabona bananze ngokunikwe le project and you are running with it and you finding all these big players khona apha yabona Vita Cafe, Starbucks, mhlawumbe ngangena uStarbucks ezinjalo but nazi izinkulu and Kofu uCoca-Cola uyahamba naye yabo. So what happened ba u decide ba okay okanye you saw this as an opportunity ba ukhonyathi ayoko serious kakhulu, let me branch out ndizenzele okanye kutheni yabo?
I think that thanks for the question. It was growth. It was time. Even when I learned or I started the entrepreneurial journey, started way back in Lalin, up on Kulsokon. So I think the experience that I was getting, it got into a point where it was time for me to do my own thing. But it was not a natural decision. That's where we're going. So it was a decision where I looked at the gaps in the market, what Coke was not doing. It was more driven into that. There are gaps in the market. For example, when we're looking at roasters in the country who actually roast and make coffee, while I was Coca-Cola, I found out that we as black people are not in the business of roasting or manufacturing coffee. Later on, yes, there are black roasters like myself now. But those are one of the key things that made me to leave Coca-Cola. The opportunities were too high and they were too enticing. And Utito was talking to me. I felt that when I was given the project to head up the coffee business, Utito was talking to me, or he was preparing me for my exit. So when we launched, I'd say when we had internal differences within the business, as you said about strategy, I saw an opportunity myself that okay, let me leave. There was nothing that bad that happened. I always try to make sure that we don't.
It's very important, and it is very important.
Yes.
People who are watching these podcasts, it's people whom others manage businesses in numbers, others are having that edge. I don't want to call it frustration, but bayasebenza and bazizinto kwimisebenzi yabo ngoku ngase umuntu aphume ayoqala something but ngoku azasibili ba sendilapha reposition ayibona ngayo it's like executive and ndinezi assets ndinezi responsibilities lento ezinjalo and ikhona la uyathetha naye pipe upela manje de uzenze and they do see opportunities ba nazo opportunity ngayenza lento ezinjalo but ayidebe khona la because of insecurities abafunele benazo but you manage and uzixele ba ngalo lonke ixesha out of all those things ba I must jump.
Because Jay, as I said, that to me, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even when I started corporate.
Yeah.
Ndikhuliswe ekhaya ikhule ku family bine farm. So selling I was selling orange, selling inkomo igusha, up until I was in matric. So that passion, yothengisa, had always been me.
Yeah.
So again, by the time then the introducer to the coffee, you belong here.
Yeah.
You understand? God gave me then that industry when I was Coca-Cola to say there's coffee. One, there are not a lot of people who are like you that are in the space of this business. And now I'm fortunate enough to have learned the business, the industry from top to bottom while I was at Coca-Cola. I'm seeing what are they not doing or what are they doing wrong that I could improve. So that is where the drive was. So immediately when we started not executing the strategy as I felt that the strategy should have been executed, I then said, no, I can do this thing on my own. So that's when I made a decision. But before that, leading up to that, I'd make sure that the exit is smooth to manage the relationship within the business. And again, one of the things that we don't do is lifestyle change, as you said.
Yeah.
I'm used to the life of having a high corporate job, a high paying job, I had all the bills, the company cars, a family, wife and kids. So I started then to cut out the lifestyle so that we can try to say, when I branch out into this business, then I'm not going to be the Wiso who has a job at Coca-Cola, but I'll be the Wiso now who's starting from scratch. So that is now what made that decision easier. When Uteko said, no, it's time. So when it happened, I did not question it. Even when I remember when I resigned, I was on my way to a funeral. I resigned and I stopped the car, opened the laptop, and then I sent that email. I'm like, this is the last month. Because again, I even now, even in my business, we're gonna get to, the business has grown. I call it the rebirth of Kofu being up in Eastern Cape. It has grown more in the Eastern Cape than it was in the past 3.5 years in the Western Cape. So I do have that alignment of listening to Uteko Gaitetanam.
Yes. But then that brings a question to me, Tachi. Probably, for me less so, as an unmarried young man without responsibilities. How did that conversation go about with your significant other, knowing you have all of these expenditures, your children, insurances, the bond needs to be paid. How did that conversation come about where you were like, Mdwa, this is the vision that I have and this is the thing that I have to, by all means, pursue?
It's communication. I think there's one thing about it is that if you have a partner that you promise that you will be with up until the end. So wherever strategies or future that you're building with that person, you have to communicate. So fortunately, she has been knowing that at the end, I want to be an entrepreneur. So we then, as I said, we then started the journey of cutting down the lifestyle. But to say it, everything that people go through in business, I've experienced. Even though I had what you say, started at corporate and everything, but the business journey is one. You're gonna go through suffering. You're gonna lose a lot of things. You're gonna lose the material stuff. You're gonna find out that everything that you've learned about business, the successful people that have taken the journey, will happen to you. You just need to make sure that you are ready and you have a supporting structure that is gonna give you that buffer. So the family element of it is the one that kept me going, because I had sensitized them. So I had a partner who would understand that we're going to have these pitfalls. As you said, I've lost everything that I had accumulated when I was in corporate. I had started from scratch. I've stayed in the township. So again, to me, but I knew the journey that I was creating something else. So if you're creating something new, you're going to have to start from scratch. But God is not going to tell you how you're going to start from scratch. You're going to find yourself. So having that support structure, I recently moved to the Eastern Cape. I pulled the whole family to the Eastern Cape. You know, so again, you know, it was one of those tough decisions that one has to make, but follow through instead of quitting. I think the most biggest thing that we have is when the pain gets too much, we quit. Yeah, and that's when we never succeed.
So we saw there's so many industries and there's so many people so I don't think it's enough about Uti. There were a few roasters abangebe senze Kofu okanye there were few abantu bemanufacture ikofu abamnyama and yilonto nokwenza ukujambise wenze ikofu. I think if you can take us through because ikofu lento siselayo singayazi yonke into so when
the whole roasting process
so opportunities ezinkulu kulento ikofu kwenzele nomuntu osibukeleyo mameleyo ba hey kanti Kofu iso mhlambi icreate imisebenzi mhlambi indlela yenziwa ngayo mhlambi imali eyenziwayo ininzi that's why no Coca-Cola wayekhona asiyazi lo nto bese sell Kofu lena so I think
you're right that I think I was just touching on the exit part of it. I was shocked when when we were told that Coke is moving into coffee. To me, I wanted to find out why. You understand? Then the shock of my life was to realize that coffee is a single category, is a single non-alcoholic beverage category, and is a commodity because coffee is an agricultural product. It is the second traded commodity in the world, only beaten by oil. So any other commodity. So it was a commodity emhlabeni like gold, like platinum, like diamonds, like oil, coffee, agriculture. Coffee is only beaten by oil. The second
most traded
commodity in the world. Yes. Yes.
Even more traded than grain, which is one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. Grain.
100%.
Even more traded than grain.
More credit than gold and platinum that we have in the country.
Coffee is more traded than all of those.
So when I was interacting with these dads, I then took it to the country and then realized that even in the country, it might not be the second traded in South Africa because of the industry that is still growing. But worldwide, it's the second traded commodity in the world. So we in the country then very, very new to this industry, but it's a huge industry. Even in the country, it's a plus minus 50 billion rand industry. Now, you then realize that while I'm
just like you said billion, billion,
and then you then realize that in this industry we're non-existent inside the business. But a lot of people don't know that black people are consumers of the product. I can't do that you would not find in a cupboard with Kofu. It might be the different type of coffee. But now when you find us now, you start looking for black owned or black people that are in the business of coffee. I did not find them. That's why I was talking about the roasters. We'll then talk about the segment of coffee. So when I then found out, okay, well, how is coffee then segmented? Then I found out, okay, it's got the agricultural side. So you planted this thing.
Yes.
You then process this thing into a finished product, which you sell it in itself, where you sell coffee beans or ground coffee. Again, where you are calling a manufacturer, you are roasting. And I'm not seeing our people in the space. You're going into the brewing element, or Seattle, the big guys, or Vida E. You know, you'd find out that it's Vida E, it's Seattle. It's now the outside companies are coming in. Like as Coke did, bringing Costa. You know, you have Starbucks coming in. Then it means that even in the brewing side of the business, we're not there. You know, that's another segment of the business. So then you have machines and equipment to make this product. We're not there. You know, you are then in the training and development of this industry, which is where you make baristas. You know. We're not there. No, then I then said no.
But if you look at it accurately, that you break it down to its fundamental point. coffee is literally a legalized drug.
Yes.
And that's why.
Yeah.
So with coffee, the key ingredient is the caffeine. And caffeine is almost as addictive as cocaine. So that's why in America alone, they consume coffee by the hordes. So that's why coffee as an industry is literally the second most traded. Because now it's no longer about the normal coffee that coffee in your cupboard. No, you want different tastes, you want different flavors. What are those beans doing from that side? These ones are roasted. I want to taste those ones there. So it literally becomes an industry where it is permutating so much that there are so many industries within that one space.
Yes.
It's a legal drug.
No. People are literally addicted to coffee. That shit.
You know that you are a coffee consumer. 4 times a day. 4
or 5 times a day.
Someone mentioned this to me, and he said that back in the days that the price that you pay for a small cup of coffee, you would think twice about paying for a 2-liter Coke. Because the smallest cup, when I touch you probably go the 500, 350 rolls, the 50 rand. You see, and you drink that 4 times a day. Now that's 200 rand spent in a day. You will never buy so much cool drink worth 200 rand every day. 5 days, 7 days a week. Just to look at it from a government point of view, Coke was hit by sugar tax.
Yeah.
One of the things that, so you look at the future to say more people are health conscious, more people are wanting to cut out on the sugar and everything, but no one wants to cut out on coffee. You can fly, leave East London and have a cup of coffee in the King Power Airport. You land in OR Tambo Airport, you have another cup of coffee. You go sit in a meeting, you have another cup of coffee. You have spent not less than 100 rand. And that's money you're not thinking twice about it. You don't even budget for it.
But here's the best part, Tachi. The profit margins on 1 cup of coffee that you buy.
Guys, this is very enlightening. And obviously if it's enlightening, I'm sure now with viewers, but so neat. Coke, let's say 2 liter. I 2 liter if I sell them 3 days.
Yes.
And that 2 liter is 35 rand. So that 35 rand, they spend 50 rand, we cap. So you learn profitable because they are selling for everyone.
And that's that's another side of the business, that's the brewing side of the business. If we were to take you to the manufacturing side of the business, we then talk about Kofu endlini. Without going layer you buy 35 rand or you take 50 rand endlini. Even the soka, so I coffee cup. So now why? Okay, no, it's fine. So even the soka, so I coffee cup. Now you take it to the product essentially. You understand that everyone no grocer or agree to take it off. Asuthetha ke noba mhlambe wona endlini ke taji uzawusela lento what I call a private school record. You understand?
That's right. As
So instant coffee, most abantu endlini basebenza instant, I call it instant coffee. Leli ugalele emanzini nyibilike. The instant coffee. Nescafe, Naba Jacobs, so I call that the private school recovery. Secondary. So because in instant, coffee does not dissolve in water. The original format of coffee I dissolve in. So that's why you need double machine uyenza. Dala ikofu wawuthenga ikofu strong uyayistrainer kokweni endlini. Makhula ibilise embizeni aze nestrainer ayistrain. Now you go for the because I dissolve in water. Then come through with new technology. We then created instant recovery. Dissolve emanzini.
Ifana nezikuku mhlambi unemileko ezindlini
Yeah.
uzikhuleleyo
No.
plus nezikuku zifaka chemicals.
Kabili iyo nota team.
So lilonke ke ayikho healthy mos.
I wouldn't say I call healthy, but again we just have to find out and analyze the process of making it. But again, I would say that quality yayo from the original because of making it to dissolve in water. There's the process to make it in dissolve in water.
So ikofu afana ugalela amanzi ugalele yona ibe ikofu.
That's why you uyithenga eshop. Yabona xa uyithenga la 50 rand ufuna leya inqindilile. That's why imandi ihlala pha kuwe ikunikeza flavors neza aroma uyive le kofu uyabona because liyana ibhini egrindiweyo into powder yadityaniswa namanzi iyaza kuwe and then iyasheka.
Yazibuza lo mbuzo wakho yenze kanjani ba lelo uthini bayisoka nayi ikofu uyayithenga le kofu recall for Jacobs uyibeke pha uyikhumbula yona xa kubanda
Yeah.
ayikho la caffeine lezana addicted
Yes.
but le ndithenga kwezindawo noba kushushu kuthini nento ezinjalo because of so meaning le quality ayifani so la ayiditsalo ngo ngizayitsela ngamaxesha athile anawuthi ndivuka kusasa kuwe mhlambe kusama ndithi ndifuna usela la coffee pha but le yezindawo ikwi-beans zagrindwa ndayiva yona bandisela ikofi right
Because the difference because the difference to make that it's either freeze dried or air freeze. So what it means that the process of making it instant wenzele kwazi dissolve emanzini enye uzayibona xa uyithenga whether uthenga uJacobs ebangathi bu crystal like it's a syrup so sikofa bayenzileyo bayibrush into a liquid bayifreeze then wena ke ngoku bayiqhekeza as a piece. That's why akagalele emanzini inyibiliki because seyifriziwe enye it's air meaning that they remove the moisture kukofu le powder then uyakwazi uba nkuphunguphu it dissolve emanzini. So that's why in the city kule process okwenza instant that's where you lose the quality your original coffee.
But this is a salesman actually, because what is not telling you is a very simple fact. When you have the one that you have at home, the caffeine levels of that is a lot lower than the one that you get from these guys, because it's that process that actually dries out the caffeine and drops the caffeine levels, so you don't crave it as much. But when you get it straight from that bean, the caffeine levels are at its highest, so your body is like, oh, Highlander, I'm dating.
So, this is very interesting. I don't want to get even deeper because of episode yangu ngaphela so I understand why you jumped wayeka zonke izinto ezinkulu because of uyayibona uba uzazenzela ezinto but ayizophelela kuwe ngoku educate abanye abantu that's why ngofila because I don't see any company enokwazi ukuzohlala apha ihabulise ngezenza ngayo imali noba iindustry njani ngaphandle komuntu umntana womgquba uzayibona le but so many things yani so ngokuteka sengokunabo uresignile uyoqala ngokuyikhambani and then decided ba ngotheka manje yazeligama Kofu from Kofu. It's very interesting so kasihlalele nakulelo igama ba why kanguze lezi izinto nje wathi wena ufuna ngokofu.
Kofu is, as I said, but it's a closer word for coffee. When I started the business, a challenges in this bond, I saw first about in the industry, sing about so Kofu was started to be a company that will be educational, and two, a company that will go to target the black people. And when we get there, we must simplify ourselves so that umntu understand quickly and akwazi uresonate nathi because sitargete bona, and on top of it sitargete uba converter not just the consumers but to be part of the business. So sifuna ubasusa from the consumption side baninzi bagcwele pha so funa ubazisa on the business side. So Kofu ke go to create with that DNA. We are called the sip of Africa's soul. And the reason why we also call it Sip of Africa Soul, sangena kuzo ukuthi siyenze le business ukuthi ifocus kuba sithathe ibeans ezisuka apha Africa only. And now to mention ukuthi ingamba legama, we then wanted to make sure ukuthi abantu bakuthi bazakwazi ukuconnecta neligama, because nobo yothenga iphi ikofu uyothi yothenga ikofu ligama esilisebenzisa every day. So ke ngwakofu ke ngoku sifuna uconnecta, sifuna uba kude nabantu, sifuna uba nisebantwini, sifuna umuntu oselalini akwazi uphunga ikofu, sifuna umuntu oselokishini akwazi uphunga ikofu, sifuna umuntu osekusabhabha akwazi uphunga ikofu, because the company yethu can cut across to be a luxury brand, to be the everyday drinking brand, but with the highest quality. So ukofu ke ngoku ocreate ngelo hlobo. Why ke ngoku sisenze luphulo? Because sisayazi ba sibambalwa singabantu abamnyama kwelicandelo, and sifuna nabantu abamnyama bakwazi uzoqhamla singatyi sodwa. One of the things engakhulisiyo is to try to do things on your own, but once you build a community and you service the community and you help the community grow, the community will support you. Because what you're doing it for the betterment of the community. One of the reasons Tina Sengabantu Abamnyama Singakulu and create businesses that compete with other races, because other races are united, they create a community of their own, they help each other to come and benefit. So that's what Kofu was created on. I was created to say masibeli pulo, let call it out there, but hey guys, sifumenele industry. You understand? And because Tina, I sense ube sibabancinci lonto le, because sizayazi uba as more sibaninzi, as more we have our own black brothers and sisters in the coffee industry, we're able omnye bheke ngapha, because the pie is big. As I said, the small of us. So if we then educate and then give the information, one of the things that abantu abayivimba is information. So Kofu, if you see the product yethu, even from the packaging, we've designed it to be educational. Xa ujonga packaging yakofu uyithenga shop okanye uthenga kuthi, ixela ngeprocess yenziwe njani ikofu, because asifuna uhide anything. Quality yethu singqindilile. And ke ngoku we find that ikofu started as a commodity apha eAfrica. So uqala kwayo le kofu to even become a second traded commodity in the world, it started in Africa, which is, as Africans, we're not the one benefiting as much as the other countries or other continents in the industry that we started. So those are the things that Tina Kofu wanted to share, that information, to say here's the quality product, it comes from Africa, it comes from where coffee started, because we have Ethiopian beans as one of the bases in our coffee offering. We have Malawi beans, we have Burundi beans, we have Kenya beans, we have all types of beans, which is we're hoping we're gonna have a South African bean. So again, Lipulo Eli that says, come, because the pie is big, we can grow in the industry a lot, we can convert consumers into business owners by owning their own coffee franchise. They can own coffee franchise in the future, and we can train them to become manufacturers as a coffee. Asu bakhamba ngaphandle kita code abafuni instant, because ithe uselokishini uselalini uze omnye lo uselalini mhlawumbe izaba right la instant for yena. So ukofu uzayenza la product ukwenzela kwazi ukuthi even though by instant at least maybe quality. Uyibona sikwazi, because Tina siyenzele le business for i-community yethu. So we are not in the business of making sure that the community is getting a subpar product. It's getting a high premium quality product, and in the product at the prices that they could get to. Prices that won't break the bank, because you know abantu needs the private school coffee by 10 like special. You know, once yeah special, then people run for it. You know, but because it's very inexpensive, and akumelanga by expensive, that's one of the things in different layer but in the business, that the product that we drink in coffee is not supposed to be expensive. But again, the people that are running the industry, you know, will make sure that abanye bethu bayahluzakala bangayifumani lencindi. So thina sizisa lencindi ke ngoku that says now uqobele lokofu apha kuthi uzafumana uqobele lwayo highest quality coming from Africa. We are called the Sip of Africa Soul because we're going to make sure that you meet with South African beans.
So now, this actually brings me to a question from something you said a while ago. You specifically said that you moved your family from the Western Cape to the Eastern Cape because of the expansive growth that you saw within the Eastern Cape, as opposed to, I think it was 3 years in the Western Cape and not finding that same expression. Can you delve into that journey a bit for us?
Kofu, just an industry in South Africa, is mainly in the Western Cape and in Johannesburg. I mentioned plus minus 50 billion rand industry, which is driven by 2 provinces. Now, to me, sometimes ndiyabhiliva kunto ukuthi xana abantu abaninzi bebheka ngapha fanele bebheke ngapha. You understand? Innovation is about taking the route that is less traveled. So I then found that the growth of my business, even though I was 3 years in the Western Cape, it is a market that has accepted the industry that I'm in, but the growth of it, I unlock up Eastern Cape. So I then came here in the Eastern Cape as one of the provinces that Kofu is really not featuring the most. As you said, Vida only came here in July. You only have a few Seattle's here. So again, we are Wazbal. But if you go to Western Cape and Gauteng province, the means coffee brands that you would have more than 100 Vidas and 100 Seattle's. So Tina then as a call for strategy is to bring the business into our black people. Now it's my home province. You know, it was a natural progression to say, if I'm talking about my people, let me go home to my people. So I came here Pondweni to then say, this is Kofu, to introduce the business, to introduce the industry, as Mr. Khane said, to say, let us as the people understand that there's a business in the coffee business. Let's come and join the business. And not only that, and have this company offering the product and compete with the likes of Vida and the likes of Seattle, so that we show that it's possible. We don't want to talk about it in Cape Town, that let's create an industry in the Eastern Cape. We will go to the Eastern Cape and start the industry. If we have to learn how the industry is, the workings of the industry, take our people to the journey, the educational journey of the industry, me being here is part of that. So that is the reason. Then you know, Tina says, Kofu, once sakhula apha ePhondweni, sizakhula eMpumalanga, sizakhula eBloemfontein, sizakhula eNorthwest. You know, so now Tina, we're targeting the other provinces that the other guys are not targeting. Yes.
The Kamisini, yes. Ingalile ke lona mhlekazi.
Hayi tati.
Yazi ngawuthetha ngekofu nangalendlela uyicula ngayo. Tiqomba yes sibabalwe. uThixo blessed us siliphondo, and for having you sacrifice and uyichaza kamandi nyani ke awuthi 50 billion and then iphelele kwezindawo zethu. Fortunately ke umuntu wayiqala ibusiness eKapa ndiyahamba and yawabona izindawo zininzi zisenza ikofu and zigcwele, and kawuza apha mhlawumbe uzayibona eMonti naseBhayi apha ePhondweni uzabona amasebe amathathu amane and ayonto ingako. So and ikofu into esiselayo and ihambelana neligama. So your insight is very powerful and it is very important kawuza uzokwazi uzokutyebisa and uzonika ulwazi abantwana bomgquba bakwazi bakule industry kofu. So if I understand you ngokuthi lelele kofu ngokuyiqala from understand siba manufacturing ithini at this present moment mhlawumbe izawusuka ezibhins oba ngoku asikuba unetsa eSouth Africa kwezi countries like Ethiopia or Kenya, but usekhona opportunity oba singayilima le.
Totally TJ.
Sinemhlaba ke apha thina sine air right. So kukho i-opportunity uba abantu kwiilali zabo kwindawo akuzo malinywe ikofu ngokasebeyazi ba ithini imali ezawusuka kuyo.
No TJ, it is one of the things that we can unlock as a commercial agricultural industry in South Africa, because within the SADC region you have Malawian coffee. Kofu is an agriculture. I want to go into the technical side kakhulu. Just on the basis in kula kakhulu kunto kuthiwa you need latitude ne altitude. Altitude ne latitude. Latitude is the elevation. Ifuna ukukhulela kundawo engathi nendaba. engathi closer to the sun.
Yeah.
And then attitude ke ngokubushushu. So it needs a direct sun heat. Now, Africa, that's why Kofu qale apha. We have the climate to grow the premium coffee. Two, South Africa, if ungajonga kuzo zonke ezi provinces, zinazo as climate conditions to grow Kofu. Whether you would look at it, make an example, up in South Africa, we grow the highest quality rooibos tea in the world. Now, you know, that shows the agricultural who are capable of creating a high quality product. Yes, bakhona bayityalayo. I will not say ayityalo. If ungakhangela yonke lekhanda uzayifumana imithi yekofu. But there is no commercially South African bean that you can go buy and say, now I'm buying a South African bean, I'm gonna roast and manufacture this South African bean into a beverage, meaning that into a coffee. So zezinye izinto ke ngokuthina siyazi iphondo nomhlaba omninzi. So we can try what you call trial and error. Siqala utyala sibone ukuthi siphelelaphi instead uba singeve singenzi. So that's another thing that we wanna uyizisa ephondweni. Also is to then being in the manufacturing side of the business. To say, now that we've siyitshalile lento okanye kwangoku singakatyala siyayithenga ngaphandle ko Ethiopia, ko Burundi, ko Kenya. The manufacturing side of this business, it is the business that can thrive. That once we solidify it up ephondweni, that can reduce unemployment. Because now we start creating businesses that are manufacturing Kofu. And then on top of it, you can brew this product, meaning that into a cup, you take home 50 rand. It also unlocks another segment in industry that again, where guys can open coffee shops, guys can have coffee franchises. We can teach them about barista skills. We can teach them about coffee roasting. Coffee roasting is an artisan skill in itself. Because when you're dealing with roasting of coffee, you're dealing with chemistry, you're dealing with the bean development, you're dealing with moisture losses, all those things. So it can be scientific. So it can be scientific in creating the product. So we can expose our people into the manufacturing of coffee, where they can export that skills anywhere in the world, where you have a huge consumption or a huge following, call it Europe, call it America, where coffee, Asia is one of the countries where it's growing, where coffee now is an established, because over there we're talking about a $468 billion industry. When you look at it worldwide, it's more than $468 billion industry that is growing.
So, singing up Kofu, so I understand that there's opportunities. So, Kofu yena kanye wenzani uyenza phi imali yakhe wena ngoku right now?
Yeah, uKofu ke uqale in the dry side of the what we call the dry side of the business. It's been built as a segment. So the dry side of the business lapho sithenga khona ezibins kwezi country and then we manufacture it. So uKofu ke ngoku ukwenza imali ngothengisa the finished product is beans. So at the moment, because it is the foundation, yonke into iqala kula bean that we've produced from a green bean, an agricultural product, into a roasted bean. It can be a beverage.
So
Kofu wenza bean. Yes. Kofu wenza bean yakhe ehlukileyo, wenza bean esuka Africa. Kofu wenza bean or create a profile. Another thing ngayaziyo uba ikofu ayifuna ngikhakha. Akunyanzelekanga ikofu khakha. It's how ikofu yenziwe ukuzibeka ikhakha. Now kwaKofu thina yenye into esibonileyo ukuthi abantu sikhompyutha nabo bathatha iquality yebeans esezantsi bayenza ikraqe ukwenzela abantu bacinga mfana uba ikofu leni uqobela. So thina kwaKofu si create a develop profile yethu ukuthi iyethu ikofu funeka ibe palatable, meaning xa uyiphunga ukwazi uyiphunga nenye icup isibini, ukwazi uyiphunga nasemini, ukwazi uyiphunga nasebusuku. So iprofile esicreate leyo thina uKofu ukuthi we medium roast our coffee. It's called a medium roast profile. They are dark chocolate okanye yes. So abantu abaninzi ke ngoku kule industry benza dark chocolate. Yabo thina senza chocolate. lena uzomunca intupha kaqobo yithe uyabona ngokumuntu othi dark chocolate ukhaleza obale kosela amanzi yeah that's what you find that even people that buy this coffee uyayisela umane ukugalela amanzi kwemqaleni what happened is that uye ungayigqibi isheke pha ibani because iya overpower apha emqaleni it's because it's dark roasted okanye a lot of things xa belithenga abantu abaninzi coffee bazothenga ilatte ne cappuccinos that is 80% milk. Now you buy a latte. That's the unhealthy version of coffee.
Yeah.
Now once coffee is the most healthiest product. It's a caffeine directly from the agriculture. Now once we faki swagir, we faki bees, so you change it. I say you're going to go the healthier version of product. That's why no, I want black coffee. Now if you then look at that, the version xa uthenga latte uthenga cappuccino uzafaka ibisi elininzi taje now yongokuhlisa obabuqaka so ke ngokukofu ke thina ke ibusiness yethu was to say okay foundation masiqale kwi beans then i-beans siyazikroqela what is called a roasting process. We roast them medium and then we roast it so that ikwazi useleka and then that's what we're selling it on retail. We're at Takealot, we're at Spas up Eastern Cape, we're at Nick's Daily, we're at Super Spa Georgia's Western Cape. We have a couple of 4 spas. We can buy it in ourselves. We deliver nationwide. So that is the dry side of business. Then unfortunately that's when again we're gonna be introducing the wet side of the business. What do you call the wet side of the business? Kuleni uyibrusha khona ke ngoku because uyaphi uthenga izilatte zakho ngo50 rand. Uzazapha ukuthi ke ngokofu uzospenda asubethe inhloko 20 ne50 rand but kodwa uzazapha ukuthi uzothenga ke ngoku le latte yakho ne cappuccino yakho kwi coffee shop zethu.
So uthi the dry side kanye uba ezibhizi zithengiswe ezivenkileni and oyithenga phansi. So niza supply venkile ezininzi ngoba usaqala koSpa. So ufuna ube khona kwindawo zonke.
Si supply venkile, si supply ne B&B, si supply ne hotels.
Hotels, B&Bs.
Yes.
Nendawo
zemoto, car dealerships, any business. Yes.
So ithenga ibins bazenzele bona pha kubo.
Yes.
And then ube ku website nivula ivenkile.
Yes, sivula ivenkile ngoku. Sizavula ivenkile ngoku. Si trailer, mobile trailers, containers esizahamba around up East London, sizahamba around up Pondweni. So introducer to the people the brand ke ngoku to say nazi ivenkile zethu siyenzile lento levenkile stena
ubeke ne containers
sibeke ne containers leni nditsho ze Kofu ne trailers benzibensitsho nje ubuyifuna apha elokishini siyafika siyenze ngehlobo siyenza ngalo sithengisa ikofu ubuyifuna elalini ubuyifuna kwi-suburbs. So again we have all different types the coffee shops zethu ivenkile ukwenzela abantu bakwazi uyiphunga le kofu.
Lapho ubuthela nge-franchise umuntu uzakwazi uthenga athi ndifuna le shop yami yekofu endaweni yami.
Yeah, usemthatha ufuna uba coffee shop yakho usekomani usebhofolo you know and ke ngoku leni bendithile iphulo lethu lisabantwana bakuthi bomgquba bayizani soqhamlani sonke kule business sizayisupporta ke ngoku that's why thina sithe siqala ngokwethu ukwenzela uba ingafail that whoever xa ufuna i-coffee shop yethu siyakwazi uba siyenzile ngokwethu. That's why siqala ngokwethu ezi coffee shops zethu sokwazi uyenzela sifumane learning and experience by the time sibiza ke ngoku franchises siyazi uba this is how we're doing the business. Yeah.
Ndiyacinga yongokuba namhlanje like mna before ndidibane nawe kule interview ifunyana wami benothi tata ndifuna ufunda yokwenza ikofu bebe kodwa bendino bebetha phandle ndinana uthini ngoku ukwenza ikofu uzawuvela ugalela amacephe amabini namanzi nesekile yintoni le uyifundayo. So uthenga ngokukho i-industry serious yofunda buve amagama obarista nobantwana. So yinto nayo oyenzayo ezakwazi ukubonakalisa ba i-industry enkulu
into esenzayo what we call it upskilling. So part of that is to then teach the people the skills of the business. So ikofu benditshiya dissolve in water le uthethayo uba uqhelela amacephe ama-2 now yeah. So ikofu lena sayifundisa the person owenza ikofu xa unevenkile is called the barista. Now that person will understand again ngokuthi u-extracta njani le kofu It's a element choice. You need the understanding skill ukuthi xa sozikroqela izibhins nazi ibhins zilapha zigrindwa njani uzigrinda njani izibhins because neza bin zigrindwa ngamahluko ezinye uzigrind ebengathi iswekire inoba ubunqindilile ezinye uzigrind ebengathi ityiwa efine so different types of grind kofu zenza ukuthi le quality yekofu uzayifumana apha ekhapini ixhomekeke binjani na so kwi barista ke sifundisa into ezinjalo ukuthi how do you grind coffee, how do you extract coffee, omunye umuntu what types of milk do they want because omunye umuntu yakwazi ufuna ikofi yakhe engabikho shushu imchise elumini is to understand ukuthi xa wenza elibisi ulenzayo ulenza libe kwi temperature ngakanani na omunye ukayithenga latte okanye ukayithenga i-cappuccino is the different types of milk uba uya frosty milk ibe i-foam okanye frosty milk ibe i-cream so ube khona abantu abathanda i-art apha ekofini ube kwi-heart yawenza heart yabona that is what we will train you all those type of steps ukuthi ube ibarista ukwazi ukuserve this quality coffee then industry bhatala kakhulu so again it's a skill that you can export overseas. You can go to Dubai and be a barista, you can go to America to be a barista, you can go to anywhere to be a barista because their consumption of coffee is huge and they need those baristas. So then the other element of it is then to say we will teach people the manufacturing side of business, which is coffee roasting. So that's why we have the training and development Kofu, which is focused on youth upskilling, which is focused on making sure that we reduce the numbers of unemployment. And not only that, we go and grow the entrepreneurs because we all know that the country will grow. The more we have more entrepreneurs, that is when we will grow. Because if it's a pungulaba, we make a line, you can't get misebenzi. Sithi masenze misebenzi. Siyothatha bese line in. Siphinde sebafundise kuba phangele apha emisebenzini siwenzileyo.
Yazi inkulu lento uze nayo apha ephondweni. And I think idinga nohulumende mhlawumbe through these podcast abantu bazayaba ngumane besiva but I think lubizo olukhulu uze nalo lapha and I think sakwenzona konabo thina singuphanda Mzansi but this is a serious it's a serious
business bulela nakuphanda Mzansi because uphanda Mzansi is one of the people abasi welcome apha ephondweni uphanda Mzansi have allowed us to showcase our business as it says Phanda Mzansi the synergies zika Kofu zika Phanda Mzansi ziyafana ngoba uphanda Mzansi luphulo elibiza abantu abase South Africa bazophanda bazokwenza business silibonile nathi luphulo ngoba sithe sawungena sadibana nophanda Mzansi sabe sisekomani sabe sisekonini eMdantsane sibheke eMthatha sabe silapha eMondi ibrand yethu ikhule kakhulu abantu bayibonile bayivile njengophanda Mzansi nasi nisinvite kule podcast so siyavuka nathi singukofu ukuthi sikwazi ukwamkeleka singakhula sibe ngezi companies lapha ebhodini nathi sikhule siyazi uba sikhuliswe phina.
Yeah. I think just due to time constraints we kind of need to wrap up even though there's so much more that we can delve into, be it the more technical side, be it more of the scientific elements to itself. So I think that you can be part 2. But I think you guys will decide that. But before we go, as you've heard, there are young entrepreneurs, young people who watch the show who might be inspired by your journey, by what you've learned, or by the industry itself. So now we normally take this 2 minutes, Anyana, so just to give to our guests to speak to the people at home, whether it be a motivation, whether it be an encouragement, whether it be you just plugging your brand, but these are your two minutes to speak to the viewers at home.
Yeah. Thank you very much to the viewers. Look out for us, Kofu. Kofu is a company yethu singabantu. It's a company that efuna ebiza the young entrepreneurs out there to come join the industry, which is the coffee industry, whether it be in the manufacturing side of the coffee industry, whether it be in venkili shops and the franchise side of the coffee industry. Whether niyasithenga, we love uba ni-support because zakhula nge-support yenu. Niyasithenga sisezishop, sikhona www.kofu.co.za, we're at Instagram at Kofu_roasters. Sikhona ku social medias to push to make sure that the product is available. So siyafuna uxhaso, siyafuna nabantu basibuze basiqonde ukuthi ibusiness ihamba njani. Motivation endinaba khona nayo ukuthi sometimes afuneka silindele ukhongozela, funeka singene sihambe sokhangela. Kofu siyenzile, sifuna ubonisa ukuthi yes indlela inde, yes indlela inamagada, yes indlela yahlaba, but indlela ephumelelekayo. Funeka uqine unyamezela, ubomi bufuna lonto leyo. So na ku business abantu must come into the business knowing that they will persevere, knowing that they will be persistent, knowing that there will be hardships. Some of the things that people think that we don't talk a lot about the difficulties of the businesses. But for you to get to the other side of the business, you must be baptized into that journey. So come to the business journey, but be prepared to be consistent, because that's the most very important thing. Uhlale phezu kwayo, uzadifumana. Not only that, but pray to God. Uthixo will give you the way. We've learned something new at Kofu now, that we pray before we start a meeting. We ask God to give us guidance. It is one of the cultures that we're building. We have a culture that says we don't have to be perfect, but as long as we're heading to the right direction. Yes.
So it says a baptism by fire.
Hey.
Yes.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Wiso. This was quite inspirational, informative, and for being with us.
Thank you to Panam Zanzi, thank you Mr. Khani, and thank you to everyone. Please follow Panam Zanzi in all the social media platforms. Thank you.
This man just basically stole my job. It's fine. I can go sit there. You can come sit there. It's fine.
That's why we go for do that.
Oh, yeah, so, but it's fine. So, as you heard from our guest, go follow us on social media. Go like, share, subscribe, do all those nice things. Because what do? We bring you inspiration. People who are exposing you to different platforms, different industries, and as you heard that 50 billion rand in 2 provinces. Hey, but yeah, once again, we want to thank our amazing sponsors, Pandam Zansi, Isindaba, Lukolo Palace, Esoto Trading Group, Tough, everybody who came together to put this amazing show together. We want to thank each and every single one of you. And as per usual, we want to thank the people at home for watching.
No, for sure.
Thank you for coming and being inspired. So from myself and Nutaji City Pandam Zans.
Aspandi. Thank you.
And we out.
I want a million. Samela pumlandi kitu busu kuna mini. Take me back on every chance you can make it a billion. Cause I don't really wanna dance like Bambang and Millie. Mali Beningi. I want a million. I want a million. Give me the chance. Just give me a million. I want a million. Make it a million if you got a chance. I want a million. Don't miss a breath. I want a million. Fill up the bag. Just give me a million. I want a million. Make it a million if you got a chance. Yeah. That teta mean and tati action. I know you know that music is my passion. Yeah. It calculated by the blessings. Why? Tiny money, tiny fashion. This one dang I'm ever ready. Kito lam dang I'll pay. fucking masa pima no bimvuse kuseni ndake nivuse kufena ndlibali yapho ndisuka khona ngoba struggle ndwana sendikhulise I've been hustling for more than $100 kwaye mphilo life and I'm too legit like a toilet boy I'm just full of shit and the life we're living is just full of sin while they rap about it I just be about it and bagcwele monte bande bullshit when the game nayo ndiyifundisile esinembaka mose ndikhulishit when the karma is ithulisile I don't pour this cause they live for me takes time though and it's testing my patience the root of all evil must stack up in cages people main touches people main some they lose it all for Mandela faces once upon I have to go to places shit you like as a pillar through wages now life's in pillar you we know it's dangerous and what we gotta do just to be famous I want $1 million Samne la pumla ndikitu busuku na mini Tickle be corner every chance you can make it appealing Cause I don't really wanna dance like Bambang and Millie Mali Beningi I want $1 million I want $1 million Give me the chance Just give me $1 million I want $1 million Make it $1 million if you got a chance I want $1 million Throw me some racks I want $1 million Fill up the bag Just give me $1 million I want $1 million Make it $1 million if you got a chance Hey, I'm after $1 million Hey, I'm trying to fill up my belly Hey, counting them numbers like telly If you got a chance you can make it $1 billion Whoa I'm working all day long and I cannot chill, yeah I want $1 million so I can afford the bill Jungle and on the Atlanta Back to the money's your land The we can't fight in the petty mela God on the boy and the murder I'm feeling high, God I'm quelling a letter I am your leader, my nigga Landela Benjamin Franklin, no Kanye Mandela I'm talking money, my nigga, my mela Whoa They always been the same, never change Niggas taking shots, bang, bang, bang I've been chillin' with a crew, that's my gang Working in the stool, doing the same damn thing I got some people asking me questions, they be like, when am I ever gonna drop? There is some wine, smelling divine I'm cooking the heat and I'm stirring the pot Roll up a jet, straight from the bottom and I'm on my way to the top I'm on a ride and I never stop and I'm looking like I'm a boy. I want $1 million Samne la pumla ndikitu busuku na mini Tickle be corner every chance you can make it appealing Cause I don't really wanna dance like Bambang and Millie Mali Beningi I want $1 million